Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Nigerian returnees are trying to forget the trauma that they experienced during months of xenophobic protests in South Africa that have also frayed diplomatic ties between the two African powerhouses. Also, Chad says that teaming up with General Khalifa Haftar's Libyan national armies made the country's shared border safer from the armed groups and gangs based on the frontier that have long put pressure on communities on both sides. And Liberia's got a new drug enforcement czar as the country levels up its crackdown on drugs just weeks after two record-breaking cocaine busts. We take a closer look. But first, we start in South Africa, where at least 14 miners were killed and several others injured. Rescue operations are still underway for survivors who may still be trapped at the disused mine dump near Rustenburg in Northwest Province after it collapsed. Now, that happened as the group was illegally digging for platinum on a private company site. The injured survivors are reportedly from Lesotho. Undocumented miners are often enter abandoned commercial mines in South Africa looking for remaining deposits, sometimes under the control of gangs. The country's been trying to rein in illegal mining for decades.
We are investigating not just the case of the inquest, but also in terms of the illegal activities that have taken place at that mine. A preliminary information earlier that was shared indicated that it was a shaft that have caved in, and I can report it is not a shaft. It is more of an open excavation that has been taken place on this previous dumping site, and that led to the walls of this heaps of earth caving in.
Now, South Africa's recent xenophobic protests and crackdown on undocumented migration was partly fueled by discontent about employed foreigners as South Africans grapple with frustration over a 30% unemployment rate. Now, some have speculated that deliberately placing immigration at the heart of the political debate shifts focus from government failures. Now, the campaign was violent and terrorized African migrants. At least 4 people were killed during the weeks of protests. More than 178,000 immigrants have left over the last few months, many helped by their governments. Now, the consequences have also had a knock-on effect on Pretoria's economic and diplomatic relationships with other countries on the continent, including with Nigeria, Africa's biggest economy. Take a look.
Diola is back to Lagos due to xenophobic attacks. She's worried about the integration of her daughter, Damilola, who is born in South Africa and has studied in Zulu language. So Adeoyin enrolled her here for summer classes in preparation for the next academic year. Damilola's dad stayed in South Africa, his country of origin.
He said I must go, that he can't take care of her. That he can't take care of her, that I must go, that he will come and visit us in Nigeria. And I told him we are not racist. He's always welcome in our country.
Unlike Adeoyin, Jude Ikechukwu left his 3 children in South Africa. He left Nigeria for South Africa in 2003 to pursue a career in football, but finally became a pastor. Now repatriated without money and only few clothes, Jude is staying with one of his relatives in Enugu, his home state where he had not visited for 26 years.
I felt like a citizen. I felt like, one can propel and do his things here. Everybody's friendly. You cannot see those jealousy and hatred and envy. You can't see any one of them. And especially my brother here, the encouragement he gave to me was so high. I mean, like, I feel like flying.
Nigeria chartered 5 aircrafts to repatriate its nationals from South Africa. The National Emergency Management Agency coordinated the return of more than 1,500 vulnerable Nigerians between June 11 and July 15th. The crisis has caused fracture to Pretoria's relationship with Abuja that may prove very difficult to repair.
Extrajudicial killings should be a thing of the past. Compensation should be paid where necessary, and the dignity of Nigerians remaining in South Africa should be preserved and protected.
In Nigeria, 6 states have promised to financially support with the reintegration of the returnees from South Africa. At the age of 47, Jude Ikechukwu is starting his life afresh.
Well, in Libya, fires are finally out at the country's largest operating oil refinery after it was attacked by drones. A tank at the reservoir in Zawiya containing 4.5 million litres of gasoline collapsed after it caught fire on Monday night. Adjacent tanks were shut down and firefighters battled overnight to stop the flames from spreading. It's still not clear who is behind setting the blaze, but the country's been divided between rival factions ever since the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. Now, staying in Libya, it is split between two governments currently. The UN-recognised administration in Tripoli, led by Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibah, and a rival one in the east, ruled by military commander Khalifa Haftar. Now, on Tuesday, his military said that its intelligence chief had been killed in a car bombing. Fawzi al-Mansouri was reportedly targeted as his vehicle left a mosque in the eastern city of Benghazi. His funeral was held on Tuesday afternoon. So al-Mansouri's killing shakes the image of stability under Haftar's rule that his administration has constructed. Nevertheless, Libya's neighbour is still very much convinced of the value of Haftar's Libyan National Army. For the past few months, Chad's been strengthening its ties with Haftar and his forces in a pushback against armed group smuggling networks that move between the country's desert borders. Our Harold Girard tells us more.
Tuesday morning at National Square, the traditional military parade took place in front of much of Chad's political establishment, and President Mahamat Idriss Déby Itno announced that the country's armed forces would soon be strengthened and modernized. The announcement was welcomed by local authorities in northern Chad, as they are often threatened by traffickers or armed groups that then cross over to hideouts in neighboring southern Libya. The government says security on that front has improved since Chad strengthens military cooperation with the forces of General Khalifa Haftar, the de facto leader of most of the southern Libya areas.
I see the security improvement at the national level. Chad maintains good relations with neighboring countries through joint military forces, common agreements, and bilateral cooperation. I think that with Libya, Sudan, or the Central African Republic, for example, Chad maintains strong security ties, but also good economic relations.
The alliance seems solid for now. Just a few weeks ago, Chad's president said the partnership was a reliable one as he met with Saddam Haftar here in N'Djamena. He is the son of Khalifa Haftar and vice commander of his forces.
Our Harold Girard there at Chad's National Day. Well, Liberia's got a new drug enforcement czar. President Joseph Boakai has named Major General Daniel D. Ziakan as the new chief as the country levels up its crackdown on drugs just weeks after 2 record-breaking cocaine busts. The former officer in charge was indefinitely suspended over ethical concerns. Laurent tells us more.
4.2 metric tons of cocaine, worth over $300 million, going up in flames. Officers of Liberia's Drug Enforcement Agency celebrated in front of the blazing pile of narcotics, sending a clear message to traffickers hoping to set up shop in the country.
Liberia is not your comfort zone. Don't come here. There's no space for you here. There's no political will for you to operate within our borders. You bring your stuff, we'll arrest you, we'll prosecute you, we'll destroy it.
In recent years, West Africa has increasingly turned into a transit and storage hub for drugs destined for Europe. Liberia hasn't been spared by this trend, as reflected by a recent spike in narcotic seizures. In June, authorities discovered 240 kilos of cocaine hidden in bouillon cubes in Monrovia Airport, before seizing this more than 4,000 kilo shipment in late July, marking the largest bust in the country's history. The raids have since led to multiple arrests, including within law enforcement services themselves, sparking a public outcry for more accountability by officials and police.
No president from West Africa should allow their country to be used as a transit point to transport drugs.
Liberia's president on Monday officially replaced Drug Enforcement Agency head Fitzgerald Biago, who is being investigated for his suspected role in the latest drug busts. This followed the dismissal last month of 12 officials over suspicions of involvement in narcotics.
That, though, is all we have time for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.